Good afternoon, everyone. This is Todd Hinton again with Bernard Data Solutions. Thank you for joining today. Today we're going to cover the release, new enhancements and features that were in the release yesterday, January 31st, that occurred between 4:30 and 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Lots of new things, big focus on reports in this release, but also some other very cool features coming out, or that are actually out there right now for you to start working with. The first feature I want to talk about today is huge. It's awesome. It's a new import feature that basically allows you to import your own data. It's going to allow you to update either custom flags or custom fields on given partner records. Additionally, you can update other type of data on a partner, such as I believe salutation information, some other things like that. But I'm going to walk through and demo basically how you can update custom fields. So for example, on the left-hand side here, I went to the Data Center tab and then Import Engine. Under Import Engine, you'll see where it says New Data Append Job. Basically what you want to do is select the type of data you're going to append. So here's the three options that I just described. So we're going to import a set of custom data fields. And again, this is append only. It will also remove a value from a custom field or set or remove a flag. The file format that you need to have will look something like this. So the file format is basically a comma delimited file. And the first column that you want to specify in the import is going to be the donor's ID, which is specified right here. And notice my column headers. These are very important. You must have the ID, the field name for the the field name for the fields that you want to update as a first column header. And you'll get an opportunity to map those fields straight to Bernard custom data fields that I'll demonstrate in a moment. But this is the general format, so anything that you want to update on the record would be specified here. So for example, if you want to update the gender field, you just simply add another column and then the value. So again, this is the first row needs to be the field names, and then after that you're going to have basically a comma delimited set of values for either appending or adding or removing flags. One note on custom flags: if you want to add or remove a flag, basically you're going to set a value of true to remove that, or to add that flag, the value of false that's going to remove that flag. Same is true if you have a Boolean type custom field that's a yes/no value that needs to be set. You specify that by a value of true or false as well. So once I have my file created, I'm going to come over to Bernard. Back to Bernard, and I can just select that input file by clicking Select an Input File. And then I'm just going to select the file that I want to use for the append. So here's my file that I want to use for the appending. Now I'm just simply going to click on the Field Mappings button. Once I've clicked on that, I then get a new dialog that's going to allow me to basically go through and map all the fields. So again, you notice the source fields here. These map directly to the CSV file that I was just showing you. You have an option to ignore certain fields, so if this has some other data in there you don't want to be part of the import, just simply click Ignore. But on the right side for destination fields, this is where I will basically specify the field type and also the field ID. So if I just simply do this drop down, the type of field for this first column is partner ID or donor ID. That's going to automatically map to the partner ID field in Bernard. So there's no other options there. So I also have a custom field called spouse date. So you specify what type of field it is. Again, it's a custom data field. What field is it actually in Bernard? It maps to spouse birth date. And these fields, these columns here do not have to be the exact same name. So even though they are in this example, this could have just been spouse DOB, and then you can just simply map it to the proper field in Bernard. So I have another custom field, number of children. That's also, as I just said, a custom field. So I want to map that to the custom data field called number of children. Once all my fields are mapped, now I just have to schedule the job. So if I click on Schedule, that'll bring me up the typical scheduler that you're used to seeing. So we'll call this just Data Append. And you can set this to run right now. Probably wouldn't want to run this multiple times, although it would update the same data, but you could. So we're just going to say run it once, kick it off right now, and then what email address do we want it to go to? Specify my email address and just say Schedule Task. And now it's going to go off and it says your job's been scheduled. You will receive an email when the job is complete. And that's all that has to occur that's all you have to do to actually import the data or append the data. So if I go back and I look at a partner record, and I'll pull up this Teresa Savanix, I believe that was one of the partner records, And if I look at the custom fields, what would have happened is, if I look on the edit screen here, under custom fields, you notice that this value here, number of children, was appended to the value of 2, and a birth date was set. If I go look at the actual import file, you notice that's this record here, and so it's able to automatically update this Teresa Savannah record. So very cool feature, very flexible. Again, you can not only do custom fields, but you can also do custom flags, which are specified here. So the import file would just reference those specific fields. Again, make sure you're using a value of true or false if you want to set a flag or remove a flag. There's some additional fields you can set on the partner record, as I mentioned, such as the gender, email preference. You cannot set or overwrite or append name data or address data, but you could do things such as the salutation, spouse, birth date, wedding date, and so on. Origin source cannot be updated either, because once that's set, it's locked in. Next thing I want to demonstrate is we now have the ability, when you're exporting a query, to allow you to, I'm going to specify some parameters here, allows you to export a file rather than going to the Bernard FTP site. You actually now can have it go to a secure FTP location. So whenever you go to export now on specific databases, you'll actually have the option down here at the bottom that allow you to specify the FTP site parameters. One thing to note on that is that it does require to be secure, first of all, so SSH or SSL. That is a requirement that we have for security reasons. And you basically just specify the folder properties, the URL, if there's a port number, username, and password. And so whether it's a query export or automated appeal export, we'll automatically push that over to a secure FTP site that you choose. One change that's occurred on a partner record is relates to when you're merging two records. So whenever you're merging two records, now what's going to happen that if the record that you're merging into has available spots to store additional email addresses, we'll now make sure that we'll pull over those values from the non-surviving record into these additional email fields here. So again, it's just another way for us to salvage some additional data as it's coming across whenever you're merging one record into another. Another feature we've added relates to NCOA. So for some of our clients, we can run automated national change of address updates on your file. There's a request that came in that asked us to make sure that if a head of household record had an address change on it, that Bernard went out and automatically would update the other members of the household address as well. So this ensures that if this Tim Savannah record was updated via NCOA, and for whatever reason this Teresa Savannah record was not part of the NCOA job, we'll make sure that that record gets updated. That is a system setting that we have to set for you. It's not on a per job basis. So if that is something that you would like turned on, please contact support@mybernard.com, and they'll certainly add that flag for you. So on future NCOA jobs, that'll happen. Another new feature that's been added based on a client request is the ability to make custom fields required. So back on the Edit Partner screen, this language field, for example, I know it's required. If I change that to a blank value, this record cannot be saved without having that language custom field added. So you can set that on any type of data field. So whether it's this one I have here for number of children or spouse date, it's simply a flag that you set, or a bit rather you set, whenever you're in administration. If you go to custom data fields, you'll see right here, if I edit this record, there's now a new column that says required. So if I look at the language one, you'll see right here there's now a new flag that I can set that says this field is required. A new piece of functionality, is really just how the system works, is the home page widgets are now going to load in the background. So before you had to, if you had a lot of information like this demo dashboard has on it, you'd have to sit and wait for that dashboard to load before you could navigate away or see any of the other already loaded widgets. So I don't know how well it's going to come across on the recording, but if I click the home button again, you'll notice these all say loading and they appear at different times. So they're basically loading asynchronously. So again, it's just to provide a better user experience so you're not having to wait on those individual widgets to load. And you can easily, once those are loading, if you have something that's taking a while, you can simply just navigate away and move on and go to the specific function you're looking for. Another new feature that's been added is the ability to set a default fund on a given appeal. So if I pull up an appeal you'll now notice to the right here there's an option to set a fund on an appeal. What this is useful for if you have scanner batches, for example, that are coming through, and you want to ensure that as a scanner is scanning a scan line and it's got the appeal and the segment information from it, and it goes into Rapid Entry automatically, that the fund is automatically set. So the operator doesn't have to worry about going in and adjusting that as part of the batch header, not even the batch header, but on individual transactions, it'll automatically be set for you. Just another time saver so that, to ensure that all appeals always have their associated funds to them. There's one feature that I want to point out that was actually missed in the previous release notes, but I think it's important to demonstrate, and that's the ability to set alerts on custom flags. So if I go to custom status flags, for example, you can now set an alert and an alert message. So if I click on this board here, I can go through and I can set a make an alert and also set an alert message. What that means is that if you set this particular flag, which is board member, on a given donor record, and an operator or user opens up that donor record, they'll immediately be prompted with an alert box that'll basically show them, hey, there's something you need to pay attention to on this record, or just know that this particular individual is a board member. So very useful for basically alerting. Not previously, it still exists, but you could set alerts on notes, but now you can also have actual pop-ups that'll be a little more clear if there's things you want a particular user to be aware of. It's all of new features on mybernard.com. I'm going to jump over to Rapid Entry and demonstrate a few new reports there, or excuse me, new pieces of functionality there as well. So in Rapid Entry, a new feature that you have now is to allow the operator to override the no response letter or no response emails flags that are associated with a given partner on a given individual activity basis. So for example, let's say that this Teresa Savannah record typically had the flag set that said that she did not want to receive acknowledgement letters, which would be indicated by this no response letters checkbox. She had that flag set, but let's say she sent the response device back in, and she actually indicated on there that, hey, please send me an acknowledgement letter for this particular donation, whatever the case may be. You can simply click on this response button, and you'll see a new option here that says override do not acknowledge flag. So if I check that checkbox, regardless of what's said on her donor record, she'll now be acknowledged for this given donation. We've enhanced the product search dialog box in Rapid Entry to allow you to more quickly find information or find individual products you're looking for. If I click on this multiple in the products panel, I'll now have the option to basically key in the SKU, piece of information other than the actual SKU. So for example, if I want to look for this Our Charity History book or inventory item, rather than keying in BK-0 or OCH, I could key in something like OUR, tab off of it. It immediately found it because it went out and searched based on the product description. So before you had to have the actual product SKU before you'd find it, but now a little more quicker way to find information if you don't know the SKU is to simply key in a piece or some piece of information based on the description itself. Another new feature that's been added is the ability to prompt a user if a particular donation entered is of a high amount. So this is a system setting that you have to notify us on the back, or notify support if you want this turned on for your particular database. But what this is for, let's say that I enter in a donation of, say $2,000, and for whatever reason maybe I just hit one extra zero and I go add this partner. You'll notice I now get a dialog that says this invoice exceeds the maximum threshold of $1,000. Is this correct? So it's not preventing them from putting in that donation amount, but we just want to be sure, and it's really just a more check for you administrators to put on the database to make sure that donation amount isn't fat-fingered when it's entered, which obviously would cause the batch to not reconcile and whatnot. So again, a really good feature just to make sure that the entered amount is what they were expecting. So if I actually said yes on this, it will let me proceed and added the transaction of $2,000. Again, if you're interested in that feature, please contact support@mybernard.com and we'll certainly get that system setting set for you. That's all of the new enhancements to Rapid Entry as well as Bernard. We've got a slew of new reports, and I'm going to run through most of them here, so you get an idea. A lot of them in this release here related to filtering appeals by country, but there's some other cool ones in there as well that I'll demonstrate or show you. The first one's appeals by country. So this is going to basically give you a breakdown grouped by country by fund. So within here you see for Australia, this will be all the funds that I have that have had any transactions associated to them. So it's going to show you the total number of gifts, revenue, and the average gift. And so for every record in the database that where there's a different country, that'll be grouped for you. And you have the option when specifying or whenever you're running this report up front to specify what countries you want to include in that. So if I wanted to just specify United States and UK, for example, I can certainly just specify the countries I want, or if I want to look at all of them. Another new report is a new report called New Partners by Appeal by Group by Country. So this is an appeal grouping. I'm sure several of you are familiar with that with that functionality in Bernard. But basically by appeal and by group, you can specify by country the number of partners that have come on the file within a given year. So for example, looking at this report here, you'll see in Australia there were 3 donors that come through Whitemel, which was an appeal grouping in 2009. So again, group by country, here's the United States. You'll see in 2009 in the various breakdown by appeals what generated or how those particular donors came on the file. The next report is a report called Revenue by Appeal Group. So this report will return revenue, number of mailed, gift count, total responses, non-responses, average gift, total revenue, and percent of revenue. So again, this is a by appeal group, so you'll specify the appeal grouping first, and every appeal grouping option within that will be listed for you to allow you to report on it. Final report in appeals is a new one called Transactions by Appeal Group. So similar to the partners report we just looked at, but this one by the particular appeal grouping that was selected, this will give you breakdown by the appeal grouping option how many transactions have come through on the file. So you'll notice here we've got, looking at United States for example, a total of 1,702 donations have come in or transactions, and then give you an average gift amount, and then splitting it across 4 years up to the current date that you specified. A couple other new reports I want to point out. There's a new origin code master listing. This particular report will basically allow you to specify a end date. So I want to know by origin code the count of donors I have by year. Okay, so it's going to show all the new names as defined by the member date on the donor record itself by the origin source code is specified here on the left-hand side. Good way to get a quick snapshot just to see what particular origin source codes are generating new donors and looking at it by year. There's another new report that I could not run on the demo database just because of data, but it's called the Salutation Review Report, which is under the Partners category. That particular report is really useful for clients who have had us add a automated solicitation build process on the back end. What that is basically, every night we can have, work with you to set up a series of business rules to let us know how you want your salutations built. What this report does, it basically lets you go through and basically QC that information to make sure that the build process is following the rules that you specified. So it's a very useful report, but again, it's only going to work for folks that have the salutation build running on the back end. Finally, another new report that's been added is a revenue by country. This is under the geography category. So you can specify the number of countries that you're wanting to appear in the report itself. But you basically just specify revenue by country, or excuse me, the report is called Revenue by Country, and it's going to give you a breakdown of the total partners, number of donors, number of non-donors, and how much revenue has been generated in that particular country. That is all I had for this webinar and the release. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at support@mybernard.com or 303-629-2727, option 1. Yeah, thank you for your time, and I also want to ask for any feedback you have or other things you'd like to see us cover on future webinars. Please don't hesitate to contact me directly to give us some more details on that as well. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great weekend.